Hey, Paul here from RoarTech Educational. Welcome back to one of our EdTech videos. This week we'll be exploring the free Google Notebook LM. I'll be using one clear example to show you how to use the different tools, but also showing you different ways that I might use it as a classroom teacher. As always, if you liked the video, please do give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe to keep up to date with all of our content. Enjoy today's session. Welcome to another EdTech video with us, RoarTech Educational. You're here at the EdTech Vault, where each week we look at different EdTech resources for the classroom. And this week we're looking at Google's Notebook LM. Before we get started, you will see on the screen is a QR code. If you can pause the video, scan the QR code with your phone or your iPad, it will take you to our link tree. And on there, you can access our website and all of our other social media platforms. Great to have you with us watching this session. My name's Paul. I am the curriculum lead for computing here at RoarTech Educational. Let's dive straight into today's session. We're going to be accessing Google's Notebook LM. So from Google Chrome, from your Google account, once you are signed in from the Google apps, if you scroll down, you'll be able to find Google's Notebook LM. Now, what is Google Notebook LM in particular? It's a place where you can come and you can upload documents, files, website links, YouTube links, and you can interact with those resources and those materials. You can ask questions of them, you can get to summarize it, you can turn them into different resources that you can use to help you even understand the content a little bit more. It's a way of maybe you've got lots of content and you haven't got time to access and read all that content. You can pop it all in here and it could summarize it for you, for example. And you can see on the screen right now, there are quite a few different ones that I've been using already. Now, as well as accessing it from the Google apps here, this is not my Google Workspace session here. So just to prove that in my Google Workspace for Education section here, you can see it's the school version. I can still access it through the Google apps here. I can still go and find Notebook LM in here as well. Or we can just search for it. We can just search for Notebook LM and we'll surely find that as well. Now, Notebook LM is going to be soon, or very much now at the time of recording, is going to be integrated into Google Classroom, which is just going to make Classroom one of those go-to areas that's going to cement it as a tool that teachers are going to find so useful for engaging with their classrooms. I think as well, more in particular, the fact that we will soon be able to incorporate the Google Gems that we create within Google Classroom as well. I think, for Notebook LM, I can see a lot of older children using it, as you can see here as a study guide, perhaps. Let's dive in today and do an example of why and how we might use it. And I'll take an example of using the Teach Computing scheme, because a lot of my schools use the Teach Computing scheme. Very much research informed, a lot of evidence-based practices, including a lot of pedagogical principles. And one of those principles is PRIMM. And PRIMM is used quite heavily within how we get children to support them in learning how to code. And a lot of my computing leads at my schools maybe have not heard of it before. So they want to learn about it. And then they maybe want to educate the teachers within school as well. What is PRIMM? And maybe put some things together ready for a staff meeting. This is just one example that I'll use that for, but I'll also use some examples as well of how you might use it using what's on the screen right now and creating some resources from it to give you an idea and a bit of a flavor. So the first thing you do is go to create a new notebook, and it straight away prompts you to upload all of those resources that we're going to be looking at. So I'm going to upload first and foremost a couple of YouTube videos. We can see Phil Bag here has created a couple of nice PRIMM videos on YouTube about using PRIMM. So I'm going to grab this one first and foremost. Let's grab that link and go back to my notebook. Click on YouTube and add that in. That's there. There we go. Insert that. And then you can see it adds it to the list on the left-hand corner. And straight away, it already tells me I've got one source that it's pulling this information from on the left, and then it kind of summarizes what that source is about. But I can add in more sources here. I'm not sure, I can't remember the number of sources you can add, but it's quite a lot. So I'm going to add another source here, add in the source, go to YouTube again and grab another video by Phil Bagg, which will be about using PRIMM. Let's paste that in there as well. And then what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add in some PDF documents. You can upload quite a few file types, but as we'll see shortly, there's some file types that we can't upload. And how do we get around that? You can upload them straight from your file directory, or I've got most of mine stored on my Google Drive. So I'll go into my Google Drive now, and I'll find some of those PRIMM resources that I can upload. So here I am in my PRIMM folder within my Google Drive. I've got some nice PDFs here, a nice kind of quick read from Raspberry Pi. There's an article in Hello World magazine about using PRIMM within the primary schools. There's a teacher guide there from Teach Computing, the 12 pedagogical principle poster, a lot of P's there, from Teach Computing, a nice quick read from Teach Computing, and then some kind of research written up by Raspberry Pi about the use and the impact of PRIMM in the classroom as well, how it impacts our pupils and in terms of the outcomes. So I was going to grab all of these. So I'm going to insert now 6 resources, and this will add it to my list on the left. And again, now it's got 8 resources, now 8 sources. I can now start to interact with these sources in a way. So let's say, for example, I've never heard of PRIMM. I don't know what it is. You can see already at the top here, it starts to tell me, introduce a learning strategy called PRIMM, which stands for Predict, Run, Investigate, Modify, and Make. And there might be quite a lot of information in there that I can pull from. But maybe there's something in particular that I want to know about what's written in here, or maybe something I don't know about PRIMM just yet. So I can interact and I can ask the question of the material that we've got here. So we can see on the summary here, it says that children will start by predicting what the code will do. So, what's the point of that maybe? So, why, I could ask, why should children be given a task of predicting code? And then it will go through all those sources and it will give me some answers, and it will also cite where it got the evidence from those sources that I can go and pull it from. Let's see what it says about why we should predict code. As you can see, it gives us a quite nice detailed information around why prediction is really important. And like I say, all of these little numbers here are where the information came from. So I click on the number 3 and it pulls which source that was from, and even highlights the source for us, which is absolutely fantastic. So we can ask any questions of the source material that we've uploaded, which is brilliant. And there are lots of questions that you might want to ask about PRIMM. What we have got on the right-hand side, though, are a lot more other fancy tools in the studio that we can also use. One of them is creating an audio overview, which basically, when you click on here, it's going to take all of those sources and it's going to create a podcast that I can listen back to. I can also create a nice little video explainer. This might be quite nice if I want to present in a staff meeting. It'd be quite useful, so I can just run through that as well. The mind map feature, I'm not sure I'd use it in this case, but I'll use it again in a future example in a moment. Reports is quite interesting as well. If I click on reports, it's going to load some suggestions of some of the reports that I might find useful based on the source material that I've uploaded. So it asks me, do I want a pedagogical white paper? Do I want a training module to outline, why we maybe use PRIMM? Information pamphlet, that might be quite useful for a lot of my teachers, mightn't it? So let's click on the pencil tool here. This is where at the bottom, we can edit what we want it to create, what the report we need to create. So create a clear and encouraging pamphlet for students. So rather than students, I'm going to say for teachers, because I want my teachers in my school to learn about PRIMM. Teachers new to programming that explain the PRIMM method, use simple language to break down each stage, and explain how this approach will help the pupils learn to code by step, making the process less intimidating and more collaborative. So I'm going to generate that report. And you saw on the reports as well that I can create my own by my own instructions. I can edit some briefing doc instructions, a study guide, a blog post. And all I've got to do is click on the pencil. And I always do anyway. I never just click on, generate that for me. I never just go, yeah, that's great. I always click on the pencil and just read what the the kind of prompt, the kind of instructions are for the report that I want. So those are the three things that I want. You can see they are generating. They might take a little bit of time. Maybe I'm learning a lot about PRIMM now, and maybe I want to generate some flashcards. Flashcards is definitely a huge American thing, isn't it? Americans love flashcards for revision, don't they? But maybe it might help me to understand more about what PRIMM is. I can also create a quiz. Maybe it's a quiz for me. Maybe it's a quiz that I want to load on the screen in my staff meeting once I've taught the staff about PRIMM to see if they fully understand it. And you can imagine doing the same with other concepts that you're doing within a staff meeting. Hopefully you're watching this now and thinking, yeah, I've got an idea for a staff meeting of what I want to teach my staff within school for some professional development, and then I want to test them on it, okay? So you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, that's going to generate now. So we'll wait until that generates, and then we'll have a look at some of this content. Okay, we've got some of these resources created here. We've got the teacher's guide that we asked for in that report. Let's click on that and load that up. You can see it loads in a kind of a small right-hand panel there. I can open the panel and close the panel if I need to, make everything smaller, so I can always read things a little bit easier if I need to. Let's go back into that report and have a little look at it and see what it's like. So a teacher's guide to PRIMM. You can see it's based on 8 sources. So we'll come back to that in a minute about which resources or sources might I want to use when and why not. I go down, it tells me about what PRIMM is. It breaks down each stage for me. That's really good. The 5 stages of PRIMM, which is brilliant. And then as we go on, why it works for the classroom, like why use PRIMM, which is what we want to know, isn't it? Why bother using this pedagogy? Putting PRIMM into practice within the classroom, brilliant. How to utilize that, and then kind of summarizing that as a toolkit. Now, if I want to use that for teachers, I just need to make sure I can grab that. So I can just kind of click on copy here and then paste that into a Google Doc or a Word doc and then print that out or send it via email to save paper, which is quite nice. I've also got generated now the computing quiz. So here it is, quite small. So maybe I'm testing myself to make sure I understand the content, or I'm going to expand it. Maybe I could offer it out into a staff meeting, and then obviously click on the answer and see if we're right. If we get one wrong, which is quite interesting, try and find what one's wrong. It tells us which is wrong. We can also ask it to explain why we got it wrong. If I click on explain, back in this main panel in the middle, it starts to tell me, why I got it wrong. So it helps to explain, this is why you got it wrong, and this is what you need to read more about to make sure you understand next time, which is quite cool. We've also got now our flashcards. Now the problem here with the flashcards is I have probably done too many sources, and so we've got 60 cards. I'm not sure if I need all of these, and maybe some I probably don't need that one in the context of UDL. I probably don't need that one to test myself on what PRIMM is, do I? So maybe I need to unselect the one that talks about the UDL there. What's that? The Universal Design for Learning. Maybe I need to get rid of that one. So what I would do there if I wanted to create some new flashcards there is maybe they're not appropriate. Click on the 3 little dots, delete that, and then maybe I can go into to say, well, I want to create another flashcards, but I don't want to use all of these because it's pulling a lot of things, a lot of articles from Hello World that I probably don't need because I've uploaded the whole magazine rather than just screenshotting that article about PRIMM. I mean, when I come to ask questions about PRIMM, it will pull the right article, but I'm creating quiz questions here, and I'm creating flashcards on all of the content within that magazine. That is probably no good. Even in the teacher guide as well, it won't just talk about PRIMM. It'll do a lot more besides PRIMM. So I probably need to just remove anything that isn't just solely about PRIMM. Otherwise, I'm going to be pulling a lot of other flashcard information that I don't need. So you can just deselect and select the ones that you need to create that content as well. Okay. Right. What else have we got? We've got our podcast ready to go now. This is really nice podcast that we can look at.
Today, we're getting stuck into something really crucial.
So we've got 16 minutes, and it always kind of starts very similar. All the podcasts that you create start very similar, but it goes into talking about everything that you select on those sources in a kind of summary podcast. which would be quite nice if you're on the move and you want to listen to something in your car or on your headphones whilst you're on the move, which is pretty cool. What we can do though is we can interact with it as well. So as it plays, we can make sure that we ask questions of the discussion that's going on, so we can be part of the discussion. I'll see if this works in terms of picking up the sounds. Have a little go, play audio, and then once you
Let's
play the
read it.
audio, you've got to
Today we're
join
getting
the
stuck into
session.
something really crucial.
Oh, our listeners got something to share. Let's hear it.
Turn the microphone on. Why is it important that teachers do use PRIMM when teaching children how to code?
Oh, that's a fantastic question.
A critical one, really.
Okay, let's unpack this. Why is PRIM so important for teachers right now?
Well, it addresses a few massive systemic challenges.
Yeah, you brought up earlier that most teachers teaching computing now, they didn't study CS in school.
Exactly. So PRIMM offers them a clear.
Okay, so there you saw it took a few seconds, but it read my question. It thought about it and started to answer it, pulling those sources together. So you can interact with it. So you haven't even got to read anything. You haven't got to ask any questions in the middle. You could just create that podcast and then ask the questions within the podcast as they're talking to maybe explain something in a little bit more detail as well, which is really cool. Now, we're just waiting for our video overview to generate. And while it does that, just a reminder that any questions that you type in the middle here, when you come out of this notebook and back into it, it will disappear. So if you find something really useful that you've asked, so maybe you want to ask a question now, such as, what is the best way to introduce PRIMM to children in year 3? Let's see what it brings up. Whatever the answer is, whatever question you ask, if you want to keep that answer, you've got to save it as a note. And then the note will save in your resources here. That way, then you can come back to it. Because if I come out of this and come back in, all of this content will be gone. So it's got to make sure I save it as a note and it generates a note based on that question that I asked. So you can come back to it if you need to refer to it in the future as well, which is always really important. And once you've got that as a note, if you wanted to add that note into your sources to kind of refer to it and ask questions from, you can click on the 3 little dots here and you can convert this to a source. So it adds it into the left-hand side. And that answer now becomes a source that you can question and talk about and ask more questions of, or use it as part of that source material that you want to summarize or use in your video overviews and your quizzes and things like that. For the podcast, we can download that one as a file. So click on more and we can download that so that we can take it away with us and we can listen away from NotebookLM so we can listen to it on the move as well. If we want to make something more akin to what we want, if we come to audio overview, you can see we can click on the little pen here. This is where we can change some of the settings of what we want. Do we want a deep dive? Do we want a brief overview? Do we want to critique it? Do we want to debate? And then within here as well, we can ask the AI to focus on something. So if I just wanted to be on PRIMM, even though I've asked all those sources, focus on the PRIMM pedagogy. And with me being a primary school teacher, just within primary schools, focus on PRIMM pedagogy use within primary schools in the UK. And maybe I don't want it to be too long. Maybe I could try and ask it to do not exceed 10 minutes in length. We could try that. So let's try and generate that. So it's now created a lovely little video that maybe we want to use within our staff meeting or something we want to share and download and share with staff. Let's have a quick little play of the video.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into something that I think a lot of teachers and parents are going to find really. U.S. graduated more than 11,000 new math teachers. About what it's for. Next up,
There we go. So creating some kind of moving slides there on the video, almost taking the podcast and putting some slides in there, some kind of visual cues. Again, I imagine a lot of that is going to incorporate a lot beyond PRIMM, because I didn't ask it to just focus on PRIMM, did I? But that could be something that we create for our children. So maybe we want to upload something around plants in year 3. Instead of going off and trying to find a video on YouTube or on a website or a company we've got to pay for, we can upload some materials and ask it to create a short little video or maybe some slides that we want to use within our class, or maybe send them home if we're getting the children to look at this material away from the classroom. Perhaps maybe it's some of that blended learning that we do within school as well. So let's have a look at another use case of how we might use Google Notebook LM. And hopefully it's starting to, in your head, give you some ideas about how you might use this within your classroom as well. So what I'll do is I'll head back out. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into this notebook here. And what I've done so far is I've uploaded just the first chapter, which I managed to get from Reading for Kids. The first chapter of Letters from the Lighthouse from Emma Carroll. And I've created a chapter quiz. So much like we did a minute ago on that PRIMM, I've got a quiz that I could use in the classroom with the children. Maybe if they want to use their whiteboards and tell me what the answer is and hold the answer up, and I can click on it and we can see if we're right as a class. So that could be the first thing we do. Again, I've created a nice little podcast that the children could interact with, or myself as the teacher. But what I could also do as well is start to generate my own comprehension questions from this text. And what I could do is, if you have watched the video last week on the digital quizzes, I could also use this as well to create a quiz. So if you haven't checked out the digital quiz YouTube video yet, do check it out after this one. But what I could do is now go into creating some multiple choice questions to use within Kahoot, for example, like we were doing last week on the digital quiz as well. So to save time, I'm just going to go into my materials here and just grab some of my prompt questions. So here's one I've written ready for this. So I've said, create a multiple choice quiz with short question length and short, succinct answers. The reason I've done that is otherwise it might write really long questions, really long answers that aren't going to fit in Kahoot. Just put for now, the quiz should be 5 questions and contain 1 answer and 3 wrong answers. So let's pull that from that one source. So it should write me 5 questions, multiple choice. I haven't been isn't the best prompt in the world, because I haven't said like how many wrong answers do I want and things like that. But here we go. Multiple choice quiz. It's gone A to D, which is quite nice, which is quite a familiar format, isn't it, for multiple choice? Now, much like last week, that's great so far, but I can't use it in Kahoot. So what I've got to do now is use the same prompt from last week on our digital quizzes, which is making sure we output it into a delimited text. So I can grab this and then pop it into the Kahoot spreadsheet. This all sounds alien. Do go back and have a watch of the digital quiz video from last week. So here's the content I need. I'm going to click on copy. I'm going to go into the Excel spreadsheet now. So here we are in the Kahoot quiz spreadsheet. Click on this cell here, right click, paste special, paste the text, okay. And it's pasted all those questions and answers in, much like last time. I'm going to save this quiz now. Let's save it as Letters from the Lighthouse. Now what I can do is, much like last week, go into Kahoot, go to Create, Kahoot, go to Blank Canvas. I'm going quite quick, I know, but if you haven't seen this before, check out the digital quiz video. Import the spreadsheet, select the file. There it is there. Open that, upload. And the questions are now uploaded straight to Kahoot, and I can use that Kahoot, all from using NotebookLM. But what I could do, I'm just going to refresh this. What I could also do is, I want some comprehension questions that children are going to answer for me away from any kind of digital platform. I'm going to answer these in their book. What I'm going to do, though, is make sure that these questions are linked to the reading content domain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload some information, another source. Let's try that again. And I'm going to upload the resource around the reading content domains. So now, when I'm asking for comprehension questions, I'm going to ask it to use question types from the reading content domains. So have I rewritten this already? No, so I write it now. Okay, here we go. So write a set of 10 comprehension questions using the reading content domains. Okay, so it's going to pull that out. It's going to read, hopefully, Letters from the Lighthouse. and not comprehension questions on the reading content domains. That'll be a bit weird. And then hopefully, but it's going to hopefully use the different types of questions we need. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, so we've got question 1. In the first paragraph, the narrator states that the Luftwaffe had been attacking with the bombs falling like pennies. Was brilliant. What does the simile suggest about the intensity and frequency? And it's telling me as well which content domain it's pulled it from, which is brilliant. So we've got a nice range there of different questions from different reading content domains. Okay, so what I could do, I want to copy this and create a sheet. I don't want all of this reading content domain stuff on the top. So maybe I'm just going to ask to so output the questions with the reading content domain references below and not before the questions. Let's see if that's a good prompt that we need to give the instructions. So I can just copy the questions, put it on a Word document, Google Doc, print it off, and that's my questions for the comprehension. So you can imagine uploading some reading, maybe reading around other subjects and things like that for the other curriculum areas, and creating questions as well. It's not too bad to put it after the question. Maybe I didn't specify that I wanted it right at the end and maybe a different table. So I could go back and maybe do some further instructions there, but that's better now. I can copy these now. I go to copy here and I can paste those questions, or I can just literally copy and paste by selecting the material here as well, and then putting it into a Google Doc, which is fantastic. Okay, so another idea we've got, hopefully a lot of you have seen before, the fact that from this website here, Crossword Labs, I used to use this quite a lot with my year 6s. You can create crosswords based on material that you're looking at within class. So what I'm going to do is I've refreshed it. I'm going to take away the reading content domains now and just use the chapter from the book. And I'm going to ask it to create some crossword answers and words as well, some clues and answers basically. So I'm going to go into here and grab this prompt that I've already written. And it says, paste it into here. So it says, create 10 word and clue pairs for a crossword, matching the format shown below. Best put below in. No extra formatting. Used to unlock doors? It's a key. Tells the time, clock. Based on just that text there. So I'm going to click go on that. And then it will create some really nice clues and words for a crossword. There we go. Click on copy. And all I've got to do is go to the crossword website, paste that in. Good. There we go. Crosswords at the bottom. Give it a title, Letters from the Lighthouse, Chapter 1. And then I can go to save and finish. And now it's created a crossword for me, which is absolutely fantastic. And if you do it live, the children can just type in what the answers might be. 8-year-old brother who picks scabs. Oh gosh, what was his name in the book now? Let's have a go, shall we? I think it was Cliff. And if you get it right, when you come off, you can say, yeah, good, it's gone green, so it's correct there. So to share this with children, you could print it off. You could share it as a link. So you could then copy this link, share it through your Seesaw account, your Google Classroom and things like that. When children get the URL version that you send to them, it hasn't got the fact that they can see the answers, but you can put the answers in for yourself. So that's a really nice tool, isn't it, to use NotebookLM to quickly make a crossword. I know a lot of you probably use that crossword tool as well, which is really cool. Okay, another quick one that we could do, back to my notebooks. I'm going to load up, have I got it yet? Let's have a look. If not, I will load up a piece of writing. I can't see one. Here it is. So I've uploaded a letter and it's a model text that I've used in year 6. But let's say I change year groups. I'm in year 4 and I want to do the same piece again, but the language and vocabulary is too much. Or maybe it is something that you found online or some kind of reading material that you want the kids to read, but the language is too difficult. We can just change the language in here and make it more suitable for that reading age. So this would be for like ages 10 and 11, isn't it? So I could say, rewrite the letter for a reading age of 8. So maybe down to year 4. So at the moment it's like 10, 11-year-olds. And it will take that letter and it will rewrite it. And so you can imagine any text that you've got, anything you found online or any material that you've got that you're trying to use to help children to understand something and the language is not quite right, it's a bit too complex, a bit too convoluted, you could just put it into here and you could select that source and say, right, rewrite this paragraph, rewrite that chapter, rewrite the whole thing. So you can see here the language has gone down to much more of a reading age of 8 than it was originally for that year 6 class as well. So another great way of using that within the classroom across other subjects too. And I'll show you one more way we could use it. And then I think I mentioned before, we've got to remember that there's only certain files that we can upload. So let's go back to the beginning. Let's start a new notebook. And let's say I want to upload some of the lesson plan material and slides that I'm going to be teaching. If you're getting a lot of this offline, a lot of it's probably going to be Word documents and Microsoft PowerPoints. And because this is Google, it doesn't allow us to upload that. So if I go to my Google Drive again and find some lesson material that I can upload. So here we are in the curriculum section here. I've got 6 lesson plans for a unit. You'll notice in lesson 1, I have got the documents that I can upload. If I go back to lesson 2, it's empty. And that's because I haven't altered and changed the Word documents into Google Docs. So you'd have to do that first. And I'll show you how to do that in a moment. But for now, what I can do is I can go to lesson 1. I can upload the lesson plan and the slides. I might also want to go back in and add in some other content around what we're teaching in this unit and also across other units in different year groups as well. So back to curriculum. Maybe I want to put in the learning graph from that unit. Maybe I want to put in the vocabulary that children should be learning. So learning graph, the progression document for Teach Computing as well. So insert all of those. And then I can start to ask questions about this content. So maybe I could start to ask, what is the key learning at the end of this lesson, including key vocabulary? And finally, what are the outcomes of this unit, for example? So I can start to question the work that we're doing. Maybe I want to ask NotebookLM to simplify something in the lesson plan for me so I understand it more, alter it, adapt it for different children within the classroom, create an unplugged activity based on the lesson plan, pick out what the key vocabulary is and how would I explain that vocabulary to children who are in year 4. So there's lots of different things that you can do. And the nice thing is you can always reference where that source has been cited from as well. So that's a nice one, isn't it? Helping me to understand what we're learning within this unit and some of the key vocabulary within there as well. How do we make sure then that if we're uploading Word documents and PowerPoints, how do we do that so we can upload the materials because we can't upload those in Word or PowerPoint? How do we get it into Google Docs and Google Slides? Let's jump to Google Drive now and have a look at that quickly. So here we are within that lesson 2. As you remember before, we couldn't see all this because it's in Word document, it's in PowerPoint slides. So to get it into Google Docs, I'd have to open up the lesson plan, for example, and then once it's opened up, change its format. So from here, go to File, and now save it as a Google Doc. It will now save that as a Google Doc, and I'll find it within NotebookLM. I do the same for my slides as well. Open my slides again, and then convert to Google Slides. So it's going to File, save as Google Slides. It will open the tab. All I've got to do, as soon as it loads, close the tabs. And then within here, you could delete the Word documents and the PowerPoint slides, not to confuse you. But when you go back to NotebookLM, as we'll do now, back to NotebookLM, go to Add Source and go to our Google Drive. Our lesson 2 now, we can see that the files that we do need to upload, we can do. So we could upload all the lesson plans and all the slides for the whole unit, couldn't we? And then maybe, this is a problem I have with a lot of schools in finding activities for our more able pupils. So maybe a teacher could put in all lesson plans, all the slides and say something like, if the children were more able in lesson 3 and had completed all the activities, what challenging extension activity could we do that doesn't incorporate what we'll be learning in lesson 3 or the next lesson, for example? Okay, so there's Google Notebook LM. What a fantastic tool. The reason I try and do these videos is to try and show you a lot of what we can use for free. I don't want you spending your own money on platforms when you can do a lot of these things for free. And I think Google Notebook LM gives you that opportunity. Thanks for listening. Many thanks for watching today's session. I'd love to know how you're going to use Google Notebook LM in your school. Let me know in the comments below. As always, before you leave, don't forget to hit subscribe to keep up to date with all of our new content. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.